Hi everybody, I am Mrs. Doot. You may or may not have seen me at school. I work in the kindergarten readiness class with Mrs. Carlson, and I am here to read you Perfectly Norman. It is one of my favorite books, and I just love its bright cover, and I want you to take a look at the cover. What do you see from the cover? What things do you see about the boy? This is Norman. Think about what you see about him. What's different? Okay, think about that as we read the book. The author is Tom Percival. So here we go. Norman had always been normal, perfectly normal, until one day he grew a pair of wings. Norman had imagined growing taller or growing a beard like his dad, but he never imagined growing a pair of wings. Still, they were here now, so he decided to test them out right away. Soon Norman was swooping around and generally having the most fun ever. But then he had to go in for dinner. You see, Norman had always been so normal, he didn't know how his parents would feel about his extraordinary wings. As he went in, Norman covered himself up in a great big coat. His parents didn't notice the wings, but they did think it was odd to be wearing a coat indoors. Bath time was problematic. So was bedtime. The coat was hot and uncomfortable, but Norman had decided that no one should ever see his wings, ever. The next day, Norman went to the park, but he was far too hot to play any of his favorite games. And so it went on. Long car journeys were unbearable. The swimming pool was dreadful, and that was nothing compared to his friend's birthday party. The only time that Norman could feel normal was when it rained. One day, a boy tried to pull off his coat, and Norman had to run away, hot-faced, angry, and sad. He wished he'd never grown those silly wings. Then he saw some birds high up in the sky and remembered the joy of his first flight. It occurred to Norman that it was the coat that was making him miserable, not the wings. "Why don't you take that scruffy old thing off?" suggested his mom and dad. Norman looked up hesitatingly. His parents smiled and nodded. Norman smiled back. Then he threw off the coat and let his wonderful wings fan out. Norman leapt into the air. Finally, he was free of that coat. He noticed a few other children wearing thick, heavy coats of their own. They looked up at Norman and around at one another nervously. There was a moment's pause, and then, whoosh! The sky was filled with flying people. Norman had never felt so happy. He realized there was no such thing as perfectly normal, but he was perfectly Norman, which was just as it should be. So let's go back through this book for a minute. And what do you see about the pictures? What is interesting about the illustration? We know the illustration is the person that's drawing or coloring the pictures. And you see that a lot of the pages are black and white or brownish black and white. But Norman has color. You see that? And look at his wings here. His wings are full of color. I really like that. Now, how did he feel? How did he feel? What do you think when he got those wings? What does that picture show you? How did he feel? Looks like he was pretty excited, pretty happy. He got to fly up with the birds. He's flying and flying. He's so happy because it's such a cool superpower to fly. Not everyone has that. But then he got nervous because he thought other people wouldn't like his superpower of flying. He got nervous that he was a little different. So what did he grab? Do you guys see that? It's in color right there. He grabbed his yellow coat. He tried to hide his superpower, his wings. Right? His wings made him different, so he tried to hide that. And sometimes we do that too. Try to hide what's different about us. You see all this? I think it's pretty cool. He looks pretty sad though. Even though he still has color, he still looks pretty sad. He doesn't like wearing that coat and hiding his wings. He's really hot and uncomfortable. So when he sees these birds, right here, the birds also have color just like him. Isn't that cool? So it's all black, but the birds have color and so does he. And he decides that it's okay to be different. It's okay to show people that he's different. So he takes off his coat and he never puts it back on. He has his wings and he's gonna live with his wings. So I want you to think about what you have that's different about you than maybe your brother or your sister. Do you have different hair? Do you have different eye color? Do you talk different? Or if you don't have any differences, what difference would you like? Would you like to have wings like Norman? Would you like to have crazy rainbow hair or a unicorn horn? Let's see. Maybe Mrs. Doot would have a pig nose because they look kind of cute. They're really smushed, and my son really likes pigs, so I think he would really like that. What would be the difference you would choose? You should write it in the comments. What did you like about this book, Perfectly Norman? And what difference would you choose, or what superpower would you choose? I hope you enjoyed the book. I really like this book. I like Norman. I think we're all a little bit like Norman. I'll see you later. Happy Monday.